Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Hello all, and what is going on? We are back one more time tonight. This is the Club of the Man 1993, and back here for some more baseball news as we're talking about some more major transactions that have happened in the last month. We talked about some minor deals. We talked about the Corey Seager injury, retirements, several stuff tonight as we're closing in on the beginning of spring training. But we got some big news, of course, to talk about in some of these as well. Some big extensions and some other bigger deals. And, of course, we're not done yet. Again, Cody Bellinger, Blake Snell, a few other big names are still on the market. But some of them have already been claimed. Who are they? We're about to find out right here, right now, with 16 more signings we're about to talk about here for the next few minutes. So first, we're going to talk about the Dodgers. The Dodgers, back on January 7th, at the beginning of the year, signed Teoscar Hernandez, but just to a one-year deal worth $23.5 million. Only $15 of that million will be paid to Hernandez this year, and the rest will be deferred and will be paid out in installments from 2030 to 2039. Of course, he sparked the interest soon afterwards. Hernandez also is a former All-Star and Silver Slugger who has hit 147 home runs and over 3,000 play appearances since the start of the 2008 season. Of course, Hernandez spent all his career except for last year with the Blue Jays. He was with the Mariners last year. Of course, the only problem was in his home field last year, he didn't do too well. He hit just .217 while hitting .295 on the road. Of course, we should see how he does with the 1 year with the Dodgers, as the Dodgers have always been more of a pitcher-friendly park instead of a hitter-friendly park. But, of course, also, could see where he could lead after that. I'm surprised he wasn't on a multi-year deal, but he still did well in his 1 year with the Mariners, despite the fact he didn't hit well at home. But yeah, still, he will probably be an everyday option in the in left field. Probably could slide into the other side as well whenever like Jason Hayward or someone else slips in there as well. In the stat lineup the Dodgers have, of course, made more news this offseason, especially after signing Shohei Ohtani. The Dodgers are stacking up big time, signing some big names, and definitely getting Teoscar Hernandez was a nice addition for sure. So that was a good signing. They also did re-sign, despite the fact he won't be back till probably the middle of the season. They did re-sign Clayton Kershaw to a 2-year deal. I was surprised it was a 2-year deal. Not sure if it's because, Kershaw is going to be out for most of this season, even though he has had injuries that he has not started over 30 games, I believe, since 2015. He's been limited to probably about 24 starts a season, that I believe it is. And of course, he could get bonuses depending on how many starts he does get in a season, since again, he has had his fair share history of injuries. Of course, he's not the only pitcher who's going to be out for quite a while, as Tony Gonsolin also is out as well. And I believe he had Tommy John surgery for the Dodgers. But they, of course, have added some good names this offseason for sure for that rotation. And I expect that Kershaw to stay. Well, first off, he is almost at 3,000 strikeouts. I think after he gets there, maybe he may hang it up. Not sure. I know he's been contemplating retirement the past couple of years. He'll be his 17th season, but I think once he gets to 3,000 strikeouts, he's good. I don't think he's that far away last I knew. But yeah, that low I kind of expected. Here he signed this past Monday. But that's some Dodger news. The Cubs also signed a international pitcher, signing Shota Imanaga. I believe that's how to pronounce it. To a 4-year deal, $53 million guaranteed, and it includes a 5th-year option that could get him to $80 million as well. Of course, this guy, from what I can see here, has spent 8 seasons with Bay Stars in his home country, has a career .318 ERA, and has the second best level, and is regarded as the second best level in the world. He has turned into a .308 or better in each of the past 3 seasons, including sub-3 figure over the last 2. He's had a .280 ERA this past season and through 148 innings pitched. And he also led all MPB hurlers with 174 strikeouts. Topping Dodgers' big signee Yoshinobu Yamamoto in that regard as well, of course. So there'll be some tough competition there for sure. But yeah, of course, he will definitely be an interesting face to watch as well, as there's been a bunch of big international signings this offseason. Apparently, though, the Pirates were interested in him at one point also, I heard, which, ooh, boy, that would have been big. Because the last international sign the Pirates did, unfortunately, did not work out, and that was Jung Ho Gung. I don't know what happened there, but we're moving on to the next player, and from Jung Ho Gung. Next up, the Yankees signed Marcus Strowman to a 2-year deal with a player option for 2026 that's reportedly guaranteed for $37 million, and it will be an $18 million player option if he reaches 140 innings in 2025. Strowman will be 33 in May. Was a fast riser, original first-round pick by the Blue Jays in 2012. He made his debut in 2014 and pitched a .365 ERA in his rookie year. He was injured just 4 starts in his sophomore season by a torn ACL. He, of course, established himself in a rotation for the following years, and he was shipped off to the Mets, of course, as well. His time in New York was shortened by him opting out of the shortened 2020 campaign, but he pitched well on the mound for the Mets, including a .302 ERA across the league, leading 33 starts during the 2021 season. He accepted a qualifying offer from the Mets, but then he entered the offseason as an unrestricted free agent and signed with the Cubs on a 3-year deal before the 2022 season. And he pitched solid in his first year with the Cubs. And then, of course, took a step forward as 32 season with a .228 ERA and 98 innings of work, of course, across his first 16 starts. But then, of course, the rest of them, unfortunately, he struggled a little bit as well in his next 6 starts before he headed to the injured list with a hip issue. Sorry about that. And, of course, he looks to, of course, bounce back for sure. He opted out of the following year of the deal with the Cubs. He looks to bounce back for sure with the Yankees in a strong rotation that already consists of Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, Carlos Rodon as well. So that'd be a nice addition there as well. Then the Giants made 2 acquisitions. They signed Jordan Hicks, former Cardinal, briefly Blue Jay. They signed him to a 4-year deal, $44 million. Of course, it'll be interesting to see, what his role is, as, of course, he was recently, a relief pitcher towards the back end. And I know they were trying to work him into the rotation. So that will, of course, depend on, of course, where they give him there. So I'm not sure which direction he is going as far as, a starter or reliever. But when healthy, he's definitely a flamethrower. I think, of course, either way, it could, work out well for him And the Giants, of course, who also just recently added Robbie Ray as well with a trade from the Mariners. I said the Giants and grabbing Bob Melvin too. I feel like they may be a surprise team for sure in 2024. Don't sleep on them. Because they also didn't just get Jordan Hicks. They also signed Jorge Soler just the other day to a 3-year deal. The deal he was looking for after I believe he opted out of his final year of his contract with the Marlins. After having a nice year, got into the mid-30s for home runs again. Soler has battled injuries, but also he's battled some inconsistency at the plate. But when he's got it on, he is one of the best hitters, well, one of the biggest power threats in the league for sure. He led the American League with 48 home runs in 2019. He was with the Royals. I think he also was part of the Braves 2021 World Series run as well. And again, solid performance with the Marlins. Dealt with some injuries though, but when healthy and when he's not in a slump, he is a great addition as well. So again, that Giants team, again, don't be sleeping on them. They added some really good pieces this offseason. Speaking of teams that may surprise that added some good pieces, we also have the Pirates. Again, they're still adding. And they signed Aroldis Chapman. Yeah, the Pirates signed one of their former rivals with the Reds. They signed Aroldis Chapman back on January 22nd to a 1-year deal, $10.5 million. Chapman was about to turn 36. Of course, it's a 1-year deal in his second year in free agency. He split the year with the Royals and the Rangers last year. He combined a 3.09 ERA with 58 in the third inning, striking out a laughable 41.4% of opposing hitters. Yes, his velocity has gone down, but he's still a solid addition in anybody's bullpen. Of course, he had spent 29 2/3 straight to the Royals with a 2.45 ERA. Again, I know he's not as strong as he used to be, but he still, can be, a late inning guy, like a 7th or 8th inning guy, probably to David Bednar, because as Pirates closer, David Bednar. But yeah, I think this was I was stunned by this pickup for sure. Again, he will be joining Ryan Borucki as a left-handed bullpen option, and even Colin Holderman continues to probably be the Pirates' setup right-handed version of the setup man as well. That back of the bullpen is going to be pretty deadly for the Pirates, if we go that way. I mean, yes, their starting rotation is still a little iffy, but again, they've added a bunch of really good additions, really good veterans this season that I'm very excited about. Including also this one that was just announced the other day. They also grabbed another catcher in Yasmani Grandal. I like this one. I mean, he's got a history with the bat as well. Can hit for power. I don't think he can hit as well for average, but he can hit for power. I know the Pirates are definitely in need of a catcher because they do have Jason DeLay, but their catching prospect, Endy Rodriguez, who made it to the majors last year, unfortunately is out for the entire year. So this is probably just a temporary piece as well. I know Henry Davis, of course, at one point, was a catcher, the Pirates' top prospect who made it to the majors last year, but they seem to have transitioned him to the outfield full time. But again, adding a veteran Grandal in there, I like it. Again, I said I don't know how he was defensively, but again, I know as the bat, that's a very nice bat to add to your lineup for sure as well. So again, really liking what the Pirates are doing. Speaking of Chapman's old team, though, the Rangers, they also, avoid arbitration, agreed to a new 2-year deal with their American League Central MVP, the American League Championship Series MVP, Adolis Garcia. 2 years, and he'll make $4.75 million this year, and a base of $9.25 million the following year as well, which is definitely well deserved as he's emerged as a late blooming star. Again, he's going to be 31 in March. And again, he's definitely been a key player, hitting 246, of course, but definitely the power has been there for sure, hitting around 30 home runs. He hit 39 this past year. Probably would have gotten to 40, but he got injured late in the season for sure. But definitely, he did suffer that oblique strain, though, which ended his season during Game 3 of the World Series. But he will be ready to go, of course, for spring training as well. But of course, it'll be interesting to see how the Rangers do contend this year as well in that Division 2 and see if they have a chance to repeat. But definitely adding in Garcia for 2 more years was a nice move for sure by the Rangers. The Brewers also added a nice bat. They've lost some pitching, but they did add a nice bat. They talked about in the minor transactions, they did sign Gary Sanchez. Well, they also have a new first baseman. They signed former Philly Rhys Hoskins to a 2-year deal with an opt-out after 2024 and a mutual option for 2026. It's reportedly a $34 million guaranteed deal for the Scott Morris client as well. Unfortunately, again, Hoskins missed the entire 2023 season as he tore his ACL during spring training. He took batting practice at the end of the year, but never made it back to the roster. If they, of course, had gone further to the playoffs, it suggests that he may have been able to be back for the World Series. But also, it seemed like that reason why they didn't give him a qualifying offer is because they did move Bryce Harper to first base, and they plan on keeping him there permanently. So that, of course, led Hoskins to being cleared to, sign anywhere. Again, he has, had his fair share of, he may not have been a good average guy, but he does hit for decent power. He's hit between 27 and 34 home runs in his first 4 full seasons in the majors between 2018 to 2022. He hit 18, I believe it was, during the shortened 2020 season as well. He's still a good bat. I think this is a nice pick for the Brewers, who are going to probably have to rely on their offense in order to contend. Again, they did lose Rowdy Tellez and Carlos Santana this offseason as well, so that's a nice little pickup for them too. But yeah, I think it's a good move. Hoskins is a great player. Just he needs to stay healthy. Again, he will be back after an ACL tear from last year, and he probably will be a nice pickup for the Brewers. Then over to Seattle, the Mariners acquired longtime Twin Jorge Polanco for 4 players. One of them including was Anthony DeSclafani, who the Mariners had just acquired from the Giants in the Robbie Ray trade, but he is off to the Twins now. Of course, this is a nice pickup for sure, as the Mariners did lose a good infield hitter in Eugenio Suarez this offseason. But this definitely, of course, is a great deal, as switching Polanco has posted above average numbers at the plate. Since the start of 2019, he has a .267 average. He's had some knee and hamstring injuries from last season, but he hit typically solid when healthy. Effective for 14 homers over 80 games. And of course, he's definitely a nice pick to add to that infield for sure for the Mariners. So it's a nice pickup there by Seattle. In some manager news, the Tampa Bay Rays did sign their manager, Kevin Cash, to an extension. Let me see here if I can find any information about how much that is. It does not. But definitely, I think Kevin Cash should be sticking around with the Rays, especially if the Rays have, done some buying, done some selling. They're a smaller market team, but they've been able to put together some great pieces to their team. I think they also signed their baseball operations president as well to an extension as well. So I think it's a good idea to keep them both along. Well, especially Kevin Cash, too, as he's definitely, the right person to manage this club. So just wanted to throw that one out there as well. The Orioles did make a trade back at the beginning of the February as they acquired 2021 National League Cy Young winner Corbin Burnes in exchange for rookie infielder Joey Ortiz, left-hander DL Hall, and their 2024 competitive balance round A draft pick, number 34 overall. Of course, this is definitely after the Brewers also let Brandon Woodruff go to free agency. He won the Cy Young Award again in 2021 thanks to an MLB Best 2.43 ERA across 167 innings. He also had 243 strikeouts and a 2.94 ERA across 202 frames in the 2022 season. Last season, though, he was probably his down year. He still did a nice 3.39 ERA and 192 thirds innings over across 32 starts. He did finish 8th, though, in the Cy Young voting. So, again, he's definitely a strong addition. To the Orioles, who have seemingly really, taken off the past year and a half under whatever their new manager is. I can't remember what his name is. Well, of course, it's a great deal, especially if they're going to want to contend in that tough American League East. But definitely adding Corbin Burns, was great. Again, I just still wonder, of course, how the Brewers are going to do since they've definitely lost a bunch of their key pitching pieces. Like I said, they're going to have to probably rely a lot more on scoring the runs. A couple more. We had Josh Hader, speaking of Brewers, a former Brewer, sign a 5-year deal with the Houston Astros back on January 19th. 5 years, $95 million as well. He split the year last year with the Brewers and the Padres. And, of course, now he's finding his home in Houston, who, of course, are looking to contend in the next several years. As definitely some players are looking to test free agency. They've already lost Carlos Correa. They have Kyle Tucker, who's almost a free agent, and Alex Bregman, also a free agent. And also, so is Jose Altuve. I'm sorry, Jose's not going anywhere. On February 6th, it was announced that the Astros did, in fact, re-sign Jose Altuve to a 5-year extension. The former MVP and is undercover between 2025 to 2029. Of course, he was originally supposed to hit free agency next offseason, but he is sticking around. It's not surprisingly, though, Altuve has definitely been one of the faces of the Astros franchise. I'm pretty sure, even though, again, there's guys like, Carlos Correa, who they lost to free agency. They also, lost guys. They have Kyle Tucker, who apparently they're in talks to an extension with him, too. Alex Bregman's due out soon as well. Obviously, the Astros, who have definitely turned into a team that really built up from their minor league systems. Oh, yeah, George Springer is another one who moved on to the Blue Jays a couple years ago as well. But I think if the Astros are still going to be a contending team for years to come, they had to at least keep somebody. And I think Altuve is the right guy. Apparently, when he was first called up, he was just told that this is just temporary until we find another second baseman. They didn't need to replace Altuve after he really picked up. I think he jumped from, AA to the majors? I don't think he was even really much of a prospect either. Short little guy, 5'6", but he's one of the dangerous hitters in the game. And needless I would say, one of the best postseason players we've had as well in the recent decade, for sure. But I do think, of course, if, the Astros are going to continue to be contenders moving forward, they had to at least keep one piece from their past, and that, of course, would be Jose Altuve. The biggest news, though, of all that I would say is Bobby Witt Jr. back on February 5th signed an 11-year extension, making his current contract 14 years. And he apparently does have opt-out clauses after the 2030, 2031, 32, and 33 seasons. If he doesn't exercise any of those options, the Royals will receive a 3-year team option after the 2034 campaign. So basically, I think he's under contract with the Royals until 2037, making it a total value of $377 million over 14 years. Of course, they basically put the franchise tag on him. They still, of course, got their other franchise tag on Salvador Perez, which is an extension was signed in March of 2021. But yeah, he's part of a young generation with him, Jackson Chiroro, Julio Rodriguez, Corbin Carroll, and of course, Fernando Tatis Jr., who's still very young but are under these very, very huge superstar contracts. He definitely had an improving year this past year. He reached a 30 home run mark, and he also stole almost 50 bases, hitting 276. Like, he's basically becoming the next player of the franchise. And probably, to be one of the best shortstops within the next, 15 years or so. You could also be looking at maybe, an MVP as well. And, of course, the Royals, who signed a lot of, veterans this offseason. Guys like Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Hunter Renfroe, Adam Frazier, Will Smith, and even, of course, Chris Stratton as well. As I said in my minor transactions as well, it really feels like that the Royals are getting ready to contend again. Again, I know that American League Central has definitely been a weaker division for some time now, but hey, not sleeping on it. Again, they have a lot of, like the Pirates, they grabbed a lot of veterans this offseason, and this is also something they need too, a player for the future. And that is indeed Bobby Witt Jr., former top prospect. Now he's, probably going to play for the Royals for almost his entire career. But of course, we'll see how this goes. As again, he does have some opt-out clauses. He can opt out between the seasons of 2030 and 2033. So we'll of course see how that goes. And guys, we're finally caught up again with baseball news. Some very big signs, especially those last couple contract signings. I still think the biggest trade was definitely the Corbin Burns trade, but definitely get the Astros grabbing Altuve for 5 more years. And Bobby Witt Jr. is no big deal. Whoa, boy. Again, that boy is already having an impressive start to his career. I can't wait to see what he does next, for sure. But guys, that's my thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts on these big signings for sure? Leave your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure also, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content to come to my channel. And follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. Make sure to also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. And with that, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later, but do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!